Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to Instaviews again. After a short hiatus, we are back. I do hope you're all doing well, and thank you for joining us. So I'm Saskia, the assistant editor, for those of you who don't know. Today we are going to be talking to Ed Cosens, who is a singer-songwriter, and Ed is going to be talking to us about his new album. So let's just wait for Ed to join and then we can get started.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Good, I'm good, thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Not a problem, not a problem. I've just been working in the garden, so you've saved me. You've got me a break from from doing some labour in the garden, which is nice.
Oh, is it nice weather where you are? Because it looks like it's going to rain here.
Do you know what? It's a bit overcast, but it's not too bad. Although I've heard reports of, well, I'm in Sheffield, so a bit further north than us, it is snowing apparently. So
Oh,
it's crazy, isn't it?
hopefully it doesn't snow before you finish doing the gardening then.
No, no, definitely not.
So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and a bit about your creative background?
Okay, well, yeah, obviously I'm Ed Cosens, and my day job, I suppose, for the last 15 years has been as guitarist and songwriter in the band Reverend and the Makers from Sheffield. I've always kind of been in bands from school, from about learned to play the guitar about 13 years old. I started learning, so I've always sort of been knocking around with people who were like-minded, playing guitar and stuff. And at school we had little bands, and then yeah, I've been lucky enough, I say, for the last sort of 15 years or so to have it as my sort of career, my job, which has been amazing. So you know, I'm blessed really in that respect.
So how long did it obviously take you to get to be a guitarist in a band, and what was the road like for you?
Yeah, well, I say, I mean, yeah, started at school, learning guitar and just sort of messing around, you say, with your mates and stuff. And then, yeah, once I finished school, I went to university, did a business degree, so it wasn't really a proper degree, was it? Let's be honest. It was more just something that I could kind of do while I was trying to be a musician, I suppose, and carried on being in bands. And yeah, I guess we just kind of, it's one of those funny stories where you always talk to people who've kind of made it in the music industry. You're sort of in the right place at the right time or whatever, and maybe you just get lucky. But I don't know. I mean, I worked hard to sort of get where we are today. So it's been a rocky road. It's not been easy, certainly. There's obviously lots of ups and downs with being in sort of the music business.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's ever plain sailing. But yeah, it's been a really interesting road, and I've been really lucky that I've been able to do it.
Yeah. So you started playing guitar in school, but did you ever think that you would actually, make it to be a musician, or was it just something you treated as a hobby at first?
Yeah, well, obviously, yeah, it was on a very sort of hobby amateur level to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
But I always dreamed, I suppose, of doing music. When I was really young, even before I started playing guitar, I used to do the classic tennis racket in your bedroom thing, playing along to sort of whatever was on the radio or whatever at the time. So I think it's always been kind of in me to want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know really. Yeah, it's. I think whether I ever thought it would happen, I don't know. It's one of those kind of strange things that until it sort of does happen, you never fully expect it to. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I think once we started doing the Reverend thing, and it was around the time with sort of Arctic Monkeys and all that lot from Sheffield. There was a real buzz. So I think at that point we all thought, oh, we could have a little go at it. It was. So yes, it was certainly never something I thought I would end up doing, probably,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something I think I always wanted to.
And have you ever worked outside of the entertainment industry? And if so, what kind of jobs did you have at the time?
Well, yeah, it's the classic sort of. As I say, I went to university just to sort of allow myself time to still be in bands and stuff, and it wasn't that intensive, of course. So I had plenty of time. But just you just do all those things that you do to keep yourself going. Obviously, I worked in loads of different bars around Sheffield. I even did beer deliveries for a bit. I did one summer. I worked on that where I used to get up at sort of 4 o'clock in the morning and go and join this wagon delivering beer to all the pubs around, and that was an interesting job. Some stories there from the old fellas who used to drive around doing that. I'd got some tales to tell. Yeah, just all mad stuff like that, really. But I've basically done whatever I can
Hmm.
outside of music just to allow me to do music. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's one of those, really.
So, in terms of your music career, what moment or experience would you say you're most proud of so far, and why?
Ooh, well, yes, that's a big one. Obviously I've been lucky enough to do so many things with the band. You know, we've supported, you know, likes of Oasis and Red Hot Chili Peppers. I've played at Nebworth. I've played at Wembley Stadium. You know, I've done all sorts of things that, you know, you could literally only dream of. But honestly, I think that the proudest thing really is where I'm at now, releasing the solo record. I mean, I know it sounds a bit of an obvious thing to say, is that's what I'm kind of doing right now. That's what I'm trying to promote. But it's obviously because it's my thing. It's just me on my own. It's stepping out, and you know, it's taken me a while to sort of find the confidence to put myself out there, you know, on my own. And so yeah, I'm just dead proud of that. You know, A, I've managed to do it, and B, it's managed to actually be released and for people to hear. And so yeah, I think it has to be that, really. I'm just dead proud of it, you know. So hoping
Hmm.
that everybody goes out and listens to it and loves it.
So, on that note, then, tell us about the new album. You know, what kind of inspired you? What can people expect?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a very kind of sort of personal album, really, and I guess this is the kind of the difference between what I've done previously with sort of Reverend and the Makers to where I'm at now. As with Reverend, I was always more the music kind of guy doing the music, and John the singer was always kind of did the lyrics
Hmm.
and all that side. So with obviously with the solo record, it's me with my lyrics and my putting my sort of, you know, more personal side to it, and it delves into sort of, I guess, a lot of my experiences, you know, going through life get to this point, you know, being in and out of love, and sort of when you're younger and making mistakes and all that when you in your 20s and stuff, and how you sort of recover through that and get to the other side, and you know, some of the frustrations with the job, you know, the music industry. There's all that's kind of poured in there, and yeah, it's a very sort of personal thing, and I think it just reflects on me and sort of my personality. It's sort of quite classic sounding, you know. There's a lot of sort of strings in there which I love, and you know, I like to think it'll sort of transport people to a place, and hopefully they'll identify with a lot of what I'm talking about, because obviously it's not unique to me. It's not something that only I've ever been through, you know. So I think
Hmm.
a lot of people will hopefully sort of, yeah, identify with it and get what I'm trying to do.
So, what is your kind of creative process? I mean, this is a question that I ask people a lot, and everyone's like, "Oh, I don't know." It's just, you know, when the moment strikes, I guess. But
Mm.
when it comes to pulling from those experiences, how do you kind of sit down and write your songs?
Yeah, well, I mean, there is obviously an element of you've got to kind of be in the right sort of headspace. You know,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can sit down and think, I'm going to write a song. You pick your guitar up and like literally nothing happens, and you 2 hours later you're just like, oh, I want to quit. This is awful. I'm just giving it up. You know. So yeah, there is a lot of that sort of. Sometimes you'll just get an idea. You'll hear something on, like, you know, somebody will say something and it'll go, oh, that sounded interesting, or you'll hear another song that really just inspires you. So yeah, you've got to be in that kind of mood. But for me personally, I just sit down with the guitar, you know, pick an acoustic guitar up, or I'll sit at the piano. I've got a little piano here that you know, write some stuff on, and
Mm-hmm.
when you're kind of feeling it, you just pick it up and go with it, you know, and see what happens. And you know, sometimes it works out great, sometimes I say it doesn't. But yeah, that's my usual sort of process. Interestingly, there's one song on the album actually that I did the other way around, strangely, which is a real strange thing for me, where I actually wrote the lyrics and a lot of the melody before I'd even picked the guitar up.
Okay.
Which is like a song called "The River" on the album. So that was quite interesting actually, and that was a real kind of. I was literally walking around the park, pushing my son, who was then I think about 2. He was asleep in the pram, and I was just pushing him around the park, local park here, and just started singing this melody, which was really strange. I'd never kind of done anything like that before. So yeah, maybe that was, yeah, a bit of a bolt of inspiration that came from somewhere. So yeah.
I mean, I guess it doesn't matter where you are in your career, you're always growing and developing and finding new ways to create. So, you know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it never stops. You know, you're always hearing things, you're always seeing things, you know, that inspire you, that spark something in your brain that, yeah, just sets you off. So you know, you'll never. I think at the point where that doesn't happen, or it stops and you stop getting inspired, then it's time to just sit back and
Yeah.
stop doing it. It's so yeah. You're always learning. I think you're always learning.
So you did speak about inspiration. Who is your music inspiration?
So, well, yeah, I mean, there's obviously a whole raft of people, I guess. I mean, for me, everything sort of always boils down to the roots. It's sort of the Beatles and people like that. That growing up, yeah, my mum used to have all the old records and stuff, so we used to sort of put them on and listen to them, and so it's always been with me, that sort of influence. And I always think that even if people say they don't like the Beatles, I think in some way everybody's influenced by them just because of their sheer influence on music and what they did, and how they changed sort of music. So they're always there. And then a bit closer to home, people like Richard Hawley from Sheffield, who I admire greatly, who's a great bloke and just a fantastic songwriter. And yeah, being from Sheffield and what he sings about and how he sort of puts himself out there, I find a lot of sort of similarities with that. So people like that are big influences.
Yeah, I think anybody, it doesn't matter who you are, you can find one Beatles song that you like.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's even those grumpy people who say they can't, they secretly they do. They must.
Yeah. They're secretly singing, Help or Abbey Road in the shower. So
yeah, totally.
So how has lockdown been for you? Because obviously being a musician, you're used to going to, gigs and shows and playing live. How has that been? How have you adapted?
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough. Obviously, last year I had loads of gigs cancelled, which was really hard. It's just so frustrating more than anything. I've done gigs all my life. Talking about being in bands at school and stuff. So it's been the longest period by far since I was about 14 that I've not done a proper gig. In front of an audience. So yeah, it's been tough, but it's kind of it's given everybody a lot of time to sort of sit and think and find a sort of perspective on life, I suppose, hasn't it? And as a creative person, I've obviously been able to sit down and write some songs about it and sort of pour myself into that, really, to sort of express what's been going on, which is is a great thing to be able to do. So yeah, it's been an interesting time. I've been homeschooling my two kids as well, so that's been an interesting thing. I've kind of found myself as that sort of full-time dad role, which has been equally joyous and equally sort of tearing my hair out. But it's been an interesting time, definitely, and I like to think we've coped pretty well with it overall.
Yeah. I think a lot of parents homeschooling their kids came as quite a shock to them. Not a challenge a lot of people were expecting, I don't think.
Definitely. Yeah, I've never thought of myself as a teacher particularly, but so it's been interesting. But I think it's once we got into it, I think we kind of found a bit of a rhythm with it, so it was all right.
Yeah. And now that lockdown is slowly easing, have you got things that you're planning? Any other upcoming projects or?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously playing live is the main thing.
Yeah.
I'm desperate to sort of get out and do some gigs to promote the album. Obviously, under normal circumstances, with it being out this week, I'd have been out sort of doing, all kind of in-store stuff with little acoustic sessions and doing some gigs as well, obviously to promote. So, the fact I can't do that at the moment, it's really difficult. But that's the thing I'm kind of focusing on most now to try and get that sorted. And like I said, I've written a load more songs through lockdown and stuff. So hopefully, get out and make another record would be great. I'd like to just push on and certainly not leave it as a one-off. So yeah, that's my focus really.
Yeah, so you have been writing songs through lockdown. Did you ever find it hard to stay motivated or to, get your creativity flowing because every day is kind of the same?
Yeah. I think at the beginning of lockdown, it was all a bit new, wasn't it? Everybody was kind of pouring themselves into this, that, and the other. And yeah, and then after a couple of months, everyone was a bit like, yeah, every day is literally the same.
Yeah.
It's difficult to sort of stay motivated, and then obviously having to sort of do the homeschool thing and having the kids around all the time. It's difficult to find the space to sort of get into a creative mode. So it has been tough. But I think you draw inspiration from it as well from these sort of times, and spending time with my kids that I would maybe otherwise not have had. You draw inspiration from that, and you just try and sort of find that kind of motivation wherever you can find it. Really, I think you have to, don't you? Otherwise, yeah, it just becomes really difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah. Was there any like one go-to thing that you could do for when you were having just a really unmotivated day that you could just do and it would just spark something off in your mind?
Yeah, well, as we were chatting just before we sort of started about, I've been in the garden today, working out. So I've spent a lot of time basically re-landscape the whole garden
Oh,
over the whole of lockdown. But it's definitely been kind of almost like an escape that I could, if I've ever been sort of frustrated or, you know, things have been getting on top. You can just go out in the fresh air and doing something, and you know that you can actually see happening and see the results of what you're doing. That's
yeah.
been a real sort of key thing, I think, and I think a lot of people have been the same, haven't they? You know, it's obviously when sort of places like B&Q and things and Wix opened last summer, when they reopened, the queues were massive, weren't they? Everybody had the same sort of idea that
Yeah.
they were going to get out and just, you know, try and do something that again they wouldn't have had time to do otherwise, you know. So it's been important.
Exactly. I mean, for you, it was your garden. For me, I redecorated my bedroom and living room and
Yeah, yeah,
needed something else to do other than working from home every day because it
yeah.
got
That's
very
it.
monotonous. So, last question for you then, Ed. What advice would you give to young people? Obviously, that's what we do here at Voice, looking to get into the music industry.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question. It's really difficult. The only thing I've always sort of clung on to, and the thing that I think has sort of kept me going and kept the band and everything going over the years is that kind of just believe in yourself and stay true to yourself as well, more than anything. I think if at the point where you start trying to do something or chase something that is to sort of maybe please other people or do what you think you should be doing, you know, what the music industry you think they want from you, you're always then sort of diluting yourself, and inevitably, in my experience, what you end up doing then is a poorer version of probably what you could do if you'd have just, like I said, been true to yourself. So I think have belief in yourself, you know, and do what makes you happy. Do what you want to do, and ultimately, you know, if you're trying to sort of have a career in music, you know, ultimately, if it works out and you're being true to yourself, then it'll be all the more rewarding. And you know, it might not work out. You know, you have to be sort of honest. You know, it's not something that everybody gets to be able to do. I'm going to say I've been incredibly lucky to sort of have it as a career. But I think you just stay true to yourself and believe in yourself, and that's all you can do, really. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice as well, because when it comes to anything, everybody feels like they have to live up to a certain kind of, you know, way of doing things, and you do lose that thing that makes you special, that makes you unique to you.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
yeah. Everybody just ends up being the same, you know, and which
yeah,
is certainly, you know, not what we want, is it? So yeah, I think just keep going, never give up as well. You know, if it's what you want to do, if it's what you believe in, never give up. And I say, you know, one day you might just get there. Like Bill Withers, you know, he didn't even pick a guitar up till he was 33, and he ended up writing all those amazing songs. And you know, so just never give up.
yeah, and it's never too late as well.
No, absolutely. Well, exactly. Yeah, totally.
So, just want to ask if anybody has any questions for Ed, then do please feel free to write them in the comments. And whilst oh, someone does have a question. Will you be doing a full schedule of live gigs, maybe over at Whitby?
Whitby, Whitby's my second home. I love it. Yeah, I'd love to do a gig in Whitby. That'd be fantastic. Full schedule of gigs. Yeah, we're looking at stuff at the moment. I say it's the first thing I really want to try and nail down once we're able to do it, to get out and do some gigs. So definitely, keep your eye out, watch this space, so to speak, and yeah, I'll hopefully have something there gig wise pretty soon, hopefully.
And make sure you keep Whitby in mind when you are doing that schedule.
Whitby's never far from my mind. Don't worry.
So, just last thing then, where can people find you on social? Where can people find the album?
So yeah, so I'm at Ed Cosens on Twitter and Instagram and everything. Ed Cosens Music on Facebook. You can find the links to listen to the record, to stream the record, and to buy it as well, all on my social media. So yeah, get out there and find it, and YouTube as well. I've got loads of videos and stuff on YouTube, which would be great to check out. And yeah, just go and find it, listen to it, let me know what you think. It's always good to have feedback, and yeah, just tell your friends, share it around, and let's try and get as many people as possible to hear it.
If you do have time for one last question, Big C Law says, how did you go about recording the album? Did you do any recording or producing from home?
Good question. Well, I had acoustic, kind of basic acoustic demos that I'd recorded at home, but then the whole album was put together in a studio. I took a great producer, Dave Sanderson, with me, and a couple of guys, Joe Carnell, who plays bass with Reverend, and he was the singer in a band called Milburn from Sheffield, if anybody remembers them, and a guy called Alan Crofts, a couple of really good friends of mine, really great musicians. We just all kind of decamped to a little studio in Wales, in the middle of nowhere. It was lovely for a couple of weeks, and just kind of worked it all out and put it down. Yeah, I think it's important to sort of get into that zone, go somewhere and find a space to do it, so you can fully commit to it creatively. Otherwise, you're always being pulled in different directions, and in my experience, it never works out very well. So yeah, so that's how we went about doing it, and yeah, I like to think it worked out pretty well.
And Wales is beautiful as well, so if you do get a bit stressed in the studio,
Absolutely.
go outside. Yeah. Amazing view.
There were chickens and everything. It was great. It was really cool.
Well, Ed, thank you so much for joining me today. The video will be posted straight after this is done, so if you want to share it on your channels, then feel free to do so, and I'd be happy to post the album on the story as well.
Amazing.
Great. Okay, great. Well, take care, Ed, and I wish you all the best with your live gigs.
Thank you. Good to talk to you. Cheers.
Bye. Thanks everybody for watching.
Bye.
Today's episode was made possible by Voice Magazine, an online platform for young people interested in art and culture. You can read VoiceOver at voicemag.uk and find it on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook as VoiceMagUK. If you like this podcast, please consider helping us to make more with a donation of any amount at voicemag.uk/donate. Thanks to Kevin MacLeod for use of the track Thief in the Night. You can find more of his work on incomputech.com.